Hello everybody and welcome to another live stream. This is my final live stream of the week. I can already tell that my voice is getting a little bit tired from being live so much this week, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for just, watching me create. It's a lot of fun to be going live here on both YouTube and on Instagram, and over the last couple of days I went live on Behance. The one thing that I'm really looking forward to with continuing to do these live streams is the fact that so many of you guys are being involved in the chats. You guys are asking questions, and you guys are also inputting ideas for future live streams. So for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm going live not only on YouTube but also on Instagram at the exact same time. Let me just remind you of the schedule moving forward for live streams. On Mondays and Fridays, I'm going live on YouTube from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., I'm going live on Behance. And for those of you who are tuning in on Instagram, if you guys would like to check out either the YouTube or the Behance live streams, you can check out this current stream on YouTube or the previous streams on Behance through a link on my profile. So definitely check that out. I would definitely suggest that you guys check out the live stream on one of the streams. It will probably be a lot better for you because you'll be able to see a lot more than you will see on the actual Instagram lives. Plus, you won't have to rotate your phone and everything. So, to give you guys a little bit of a refresher to what we've been creating this week, let me jump on over here for those on YouTube. Yesterday, we went through and created this Cybertruck on Behance. Now, here is, whoops, always hate when you accidentally click on something. Here is the progression of that Cybertruck. We actually started with this simple shape here for the main body of the Cybertruck, and it pretty much grew from there. Here's one of the early renditions with stock tires on it, trying out different color patterns and everything until we get to this final version here. Earlier in the week, in fact, when we were on here on YouTube on Monday, we started working on these truck illustrations. We actually started with this simple illustration here and then built that up into a more detailed truck design. And now today we're actually going to be blowing these out even further. On Tuesday on Behance, we actually went and created this cool camper trailer on the back of the truck here. And today I think we're actually going to keep expanding upon that and seeing what other variations of this truck we can actually create, including maybe somewhat like a monster truck or big wheel truck, and potentially a tow truck, and maybe some other ideas that you guys share in the chat. As always, please always remember that you can ask questions whenever you have them, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube. I'll try to answer them as best as I can whenever they pop into the chat. But let's actually get started. Hello, Mark, my little brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Mahmood. Yes, my Walrus t-shirt. This is actually my favorite t-shirt by Upper Playground. I bought this a few years ago, or a couple years ago, when I was up at Adobe Live in San Francisco. It's one of my favorites because it's the most comfortable shirt, and I just like the overall design of it. It's starting to deteriorate, though, the design, so hopefully I'll still get maybe another year or so out of it. All right, so what we're going to be doing, like I said, is we're going to be expanding upon this truck design and seeing what other variants, like we have this camper truck here, we can create. This is a great way of showing like how you can go through and expand upon simple vehicles. So for instance, let's say that I had created 5 different vehicle designs similar to this one. We can then go and expand those 5 vehicles into other variations of themselves, and next thing we know, we have 20 or 30 different types of vehicles. And this is perfect for animation. It's perfect for any type of ad design or other stuff like that. In fact, I use something not really with vehicles, but with other things like houses and buildings for things like for Facebook ads and for Facebook in general. Hello, Vibhavev. Sorry, I cannot pronounce names very correctly. I do apologize. Hello, Rock. Love from India. Thank you so much for tuning in. I actually was looking at my analytics earlier today, and I noticed that one of my biggest, the biggest areas besides the U.S. is actually India that tunes into a lot of my videos and live streams. Okay, so with this first truck here, I think what we're going to do is we're going to actually turn it into a big-wheeled off-road type of truck. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove these elements right here, so we don't have that in the back of the cab of the truck. I'm going to actually decrease the size of the back of the truck. Whoops, I actually need to grab a little bit more of that. We're just going to hit shift and press arrow to move it over 10 pixels. Okay, that's pretty good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to mess with the tires here. So I'm actually going to pull a tire out. I'm just going to increase the size of it. I think that looks about right. And we're just going to bring it down here. I think that works. So let's actually get rid of this tire, and we'll get rid of that area there. We might not even have to do a clipping mask like we did here, because what we should be able to do is paste that behind this element, and it should be good. Yeah, see, look, perfect. So that's actually good there. So let's bring over another tire over here. This actually needs to go over just a little bit more. We'll delete this part. Delete that one. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Copy it. Delete these tires. Paste it behind. And then we're going to get rid of the rims. So far, my day has actually been pretty good. It was a little bit busy. I had a couple of calls this morning. I have one potential new project in the works right now, which has got me excited. But overall, pretty well. I'm actually excited for the weekend to come and hopefully get some extra work done, or actually some personal work done. Working on some illustrations and maybe working on my course design. But that's the goal. That's the goal right now, let's put it that way. So I'm actually going to move this over. It doesn't have to be perfectly anatomical. The only problem that we're having is this little overlap right here. So I'm actually going to, just for this one, I'm just going to make it all the dark navy color. Thank you so much, Xavier, and thanks for tuning in. Xavier really likes the illustration style. Okay, so we're going to bring down, because we remember, just like with the other ones, we want to have this like cover here for the axle. We're not actually going to show the axle for this, just making it super simple. But we still need to show the fact that we have something connecting right here. And so basically we can just leave it just like this. I mean, if we wanted to, we could get a little bit more detailed in this. You know, let's actually try that just for the heck of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align up right here. And I'm going to make it this color right here. And if we do that, we'll actually have to bring this tire down, because we want it to be the same axle size. Whoops. And again, if anybody has any questions, if I go too fast with something, you'd like me to explain it a little bit more, please by all means ask me to. I'm perfectly fine with stopping and answering any questions. Okay, so we've got the start of this axle here. I really probably should have looked at some examples, but I think you know what? Actually, I probably should look at an example. Let's see. Truck lift kit. There we go. And let's see if we can't find a good example of how it should probably look. And we don't have to make it too overly complicated. Alright, we're going to make it this color here because we want it to still be dark. We're going to decrease the size of this rectangle. Let's see. Have you seen the Monster Monster Energy trucks. They are cool. No, I haven't. I still remember, and I'm sure they're probably still doing it. I remember one truck in particular was Gravedigger. That was one monster truck that I remember seeing when I was a kid. But I haven't seen any in forever. But I imagine their Gravedigger is probably still out there. So we're going to actually go and we're going to do a little clip right here just because I want to not have it go into the tire. I still want this color down here, but we don't want it to go into the actual tire itself. So I'm going to do a clipping mask on top of this. Command 7. Thank you so much, Arctic Lynx Media. Thank you so much. Your work is so good. It inspires me to practice and get better. That's the whole goal for me for these live streams, is to hopefully inspire you and make you want to create more, and to ask questions too about anything that I'm doing. I really appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate everybody who's tuning into these live streams. It's really very fulfilling for me to be able to do this and to be able to impact you guys and give you guys the type of feedback that you deserve, or like inspiration and tips and tricks. So I do appreciate that. Let's see, Mahmood, do you play any multiplayer games? Yes, I do. I actually play Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I actually haven't played in probably about a week. I might try and play it today if I have some extra time on my hands. But I play with like a group of people. We jump on and play usually every single week. Again, the only reason why I have not done it this week has been just because I've been busy. Okay, there we go. Whoops. Do I want to do that? I kind of do. I know it's a little bit lighter here, but that's okay. So I'm going to copy these and I'm going to paste this behind here. Whoops, I paste into a clipping mask. Okay, I might have to actually do another clipping mask here, which is fine. So I'm going to paste this in front. Okay, we got that. Good. I'm going to paste this behind. Perfect. There we go. So now we got a little bit of an axle back there. So that actually works perfect. So, Sharma, I'm going to go with your last name because I don't want to butcher your first name. Sharma asked, any tips on starting with illustrations, like own characters? So the best thing to do with starting any type of design or creative work is to actually look at how other people are doing it, especially when you're learning. If you are just starting off, the best thing to do is to look at how other people are doing it, and you can copy them, but not steal their work. So when I say copy, I mean like redraw or re-illustrate what they do so you can learn certain techniques. But you should never actually steal their work and pass it off as your own. So for instance, if I wanted to teach somebody how to create a truck like this, I would suggest that they actually go through and build out this truck, redo this truck the exact same way that I did it, which luckily you all can actually see that through these live streams, exactly how I went through and created this truck through both the first live stream on Monday here on YouTube, and then the second part 1 and part 2 of this live streaming series. So I would definitely suggest that you guys do that if you guys want to learn how to do stuff like this. But you can take a look at other people's work on Behance or Dribble or Instagram and just try and recreate it. When you recreate illustrations and designs, you actually tend to absorb much more information, and you develop sort of muscle memory in how you can go about creating these certain things. Let's see, Arctic Link says, when you first started doing illustrations, did you take any online courses to learn, or you just went in and messed around with the tools and experiment. So when I first started, this was a long time ago, there weren't any online courses for learning Illustrator, at least not to my knowledge at the time. So what I had to do was I actually learned from a book that Adobe would include with the actual software. And I believe it was actually written by a friend of mine named Von Glitchka. And you can actually go in and you can you'll learn how to use everything just through doing the book. There was a CD-ROM with source files that you could use and everything like that. But that's basically how I went about learning it and creating everything. Now, later on, when I was getting better at my craft, I wasn't doing online tutorials, but I was doing exactly what I was just sharing about, which was going through and creating and testing out different things, practicing, recreating things that other people created. At the time, I thought that was actually a bad thing that I was doing. I didn't understand that that's actually one of the best ways of doing it. I thought that I was actually doing something wrong, and that if people found out, then that they would be upset with me, or I would get in trouble, or something like that. But in reality, that is the best way to learn, is to recreate what others have done and see how you can do it a little bit differently, and hopefully maybe even better than what they did. And I have a lot of friends who are illustrators, and I don't think any of them would get upset if somebody was practicing, as long as they don't try and steal the work. And I'm sorry if I'm going through here and I'm not explaining what I'm doing, because I'm just trying to give you guys some feedback and stuff like that while I'm going through and illustrating this. What we're doing here is we're adding in some bars to just show some support. I'm looking at this extreme example here of this truck lift kit, and so I'm just trying to do some cross members and things like that. Might do a spring or something like that, but just to share with you guys what I'm doing here. I'm not going to go too much into detail with this truck, but I can at least try some things and hopefully create something that's pretty cool. Let's see, ideas project. Cool. Say hello from Indonesia. Thank you so much for tuning in from Indonesia. And Sharma, I hope that answers your question on YouTube. Let me know if there's any other questions that you might have, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my ability. Oh, excuse me. No problem, Arctic Links. And the same thing goes for you. If you have more questions, please feel free to ask away. Like, that's the one thing that I love about these live streams, is the fact that I can answer any and all questions that people might have. Okay, so we're getting this. It's looking really good here. We just have to play around a little bit more with certain aspects of this. Paste behind there. I'm liking it. I think this is looking good. I think we need to move this over just a little bit. We'll need to move those other ones too, just because I want that to really set in there. All right, awesome. Yeah, so what we're going to do is I think we're going to do a couple of versions of the truck, or as much as we can in the short amount of time that we have here, because I'm only going to be going live for an hour, but we will try to get as much done as possible. So I'm just going to copy this over here because we already have, or it should be, there we go. We already have it there. We'll just bring that tire to the front, so it's right behind there. Yes, it does look easy, but it is very difficult. And you have to remember, when I'm doing a lot of this stuff, a lot of it I've been doing for a long time. And so, it might seem easy, but yeah, it can be very difficult and very hard. I'm going to try and see how this looks by adding another element right here. And I don't know if I want that there. Maybe we can actually put a straight up and down one. I think that might work. Yeah, we'll paste that inside of there. And by the way, for those of you who've never worked with clipping masks, if you click on an element within a clipping mask and you paste by Command F, it'll paste it directly inside of that same clipping mask. Just like a quick little you know, tip. And we'll move this one back just a hair. Maybe we might add a spring in there, and that's what we do. And again, the trucks don't have to be 100% accurate. You know, that's the one thing to keep in mind here, is they don't have to be accurate. A lot of people think that they have to make things look exactly how they are in real life. That is not the case. You know, we are creatives. We're designers, we're illustrators. You know, we have creative freedom to change whatever it is that we want to. And so if we want to, you know, change how a truck actually is, that's perfectly fine. It's our creative prerogative when it comes to stuff like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a spring here. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to, let me make this a stroke. I think I'm going to go for a yellow. And first we're going to go through and just do the vertical, non-horizontal. Bring that down and just press Command D. We actually need to fix, we need to bring this in front. That's the problem right there. Bring that in front, or excuse me, right? Why is that cutting like that? That's interesting. Oh, okay, no, it's the tire. Okay. I just needed to make sure because it looked, for some reason it was looking a little weird there. Okay, so we've got that part of the spring. Let's actually select these and group them together. We're going to copy it. We're going to paste it behind this element. Paste behind. Alright. And then we're going to go back to this part and we're going to lock that. So now what we can do is we can select just these anchor points from the one that's behind it. And then we can click and drag these down. And now we have a spring. We're actually going to get rid of this one. Or we're going to shorten this and just pull it and drag it as close to possible right there. So now what we can do is we can unlock those. Or excuse me, no, we'll keep them locked. We're going to select, with the direct selection tool, one of these. We're going to select same stroke color. Make sure that it's only this part that we have selected. And then we're going to make that orange. That way we have a little bit of dimension there. It's not too much, and it's just a small little element. But I think it looks cool. What do you guys think? Do you think it looks cool? I mean, I do. But that's just me. Welcome back, Mark. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and delete this one. Or we're going to do one more thing to this. We have the spring here, but we also need to probably do a shock absorber. So we're going to copy and paste this. Paste one directly in front. Increase the size by 10. And then we're going to drag this down here. Just like so. We're going to expand it. Object expand. Then we're going to round the edges. And then let's hit it with a blue color. Yeah, we'll go blue. So now like almost looks like we have a shock absorber and a spring there. Might be a little too much. Maybe I'll go back in and change that. But let's drag one over here, copy it. Let's get rid of that. Whoops, wrong one. Clicked on the wrong one. Delete that, paste it in front. Oh, and we forgot the other spring. Alright, hold on. We're going to group those together. We're going to drag it over. Delete this old one. Paste in front. And there we go. Now we have that. We have to just bring this in front again. And so now we have, you know, our truck with the shock absorber and the spring here. Again, we don't even have to have that in there. It could be a little bit too much, but it's a little fun to have. Let's see, Sharma. Thank you, Rocky, for answering questions so humbly. And yeah, thanks for inspiring as always. Thank you so much, Sharma. Xavier, do you typically do everything in the same layer? Yes, I do. The only time that I ever use multiple layers is if I'm doing a certain illustration style. And even when I'm doing stuff for animation, I still create everything on one layer and go back later and switch it to a single, to multiple layers. It's just the way that I work. I know it's not the best practices, but you know what? That's just the way that I've been doing this for all this time. And I just prefer it to not do it that way, not have all of the having so many different layers, because it takes so much time to go through and do that. Let's see. Let's tap these down a bit. Got a little bit of a roll cage going on back here. We'll make it the same color, the dark color. Yes, perspective is very difficult. It's so rare I do anything that involves perspective. Even this is, was it a 2/3 perspective? But I don't use any perspective lines because this is a simple way of creating faux perspective when you do stuff like this. I only will do it just the side view or this 2/3 view. I won't try and do any else beyond that. I've delved a little bit into 3D illustration, but not a whole lot. Let's see. Adam Belize is nice. Thank you so much. Have you ever tried Inkscape or Affinity Designer? I do not. I am strictly an Adobe person. I don't find any reason for me not to be using Adobe. So I have a lot of people who ask me, oh, you should use Affinity Designer and everything. I just don't have a reason to. I don't feel like I ever will need to. Not to mention, I've been using Adobe Illustrator and all the other Adobe products for 15, 16 years now. There's honestly no reason for me to switch to anything else but that. So that's the reason why, like, I don't ever plan to use Affinity Designer. I will say this, of the I think the creators of Affinity Designer or somebody involved with them did reach out years ago, or like a couple of years ago, and asked me if I wanted to demo their product and be sponsored by them and everything. But I'm so much of an Adobe fan that I said no instantly. I'm not a fan of trying out other software just because there's no reason for me to have any type of a learning curve at this point. So I know this roll cage isn't exactly how most roll cages are, but I'm just having fun with this, seeing what I can put in here. Let's see. Love the nameplate, though. Yes, it is my little brother's name. I threw that on there when we were working on this earlier this week. Ooh, I actually like that better. We'll just remove that cross member. Parallel projection. I've actually never heard it called that. I always hear it called 2/3 perspective. I've never heard it called parallel projection. So that's actually interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so now we've got the roll cage, but you know what? These types of trucks, what are these type of trucks without some sort of light bar? Right? I mean, I've always seen these trucks with with these like light bars on the back. I still remember watching when I was a kid. What was it? Three Ninjas, and seeing like some sort of truck like this. And I think you even see one like it in Roadhouse as well. Okay, so I'm gonna create some of these lights here. Decrease the size a little bit. We're gonna make this yellow, so we're bringing back in the yellow in another spot. So we're not just using the yellow down here, we're also using it up top here. We need to create a little bit of a 3D effect. That's pretty good. 35%. And we're going to do something similar that we did down below. Or actually, I think these are actually just covers. I don't think they actually ever are the actual lights, but let me just make sure real quick. Let's see. We will do Ford Bronco, because that's the first kind of vehicle that pops up in my head that would have this type of system set up. And of course, every single Ford Bronco I look up does not have it. Oh, there we go. Yes, so I'm also streaming on YouTube. So I'm streaming it both on Instagram and on YouTube at the same exact time. Okay, so we've got a bigger picture. Okay, they kind of do have this. So we're gonna add in the little light lines that we did before. And we're going to set this to the light, that light color. We're going to put it to, this one we're going to make a little bit bigger. Unfortunately, I sold my sticker subscription business back in 2018. So I'm no longer involved with that. Yes, so my YouTube is Rocky Rourke. If you just search there, you should be able to find it. Also, if you go to my profile on here, there is a link to it on my page, so you can go check that out as well. And we're going to delete that. We're going to go back over down here to the actual truck. There we go. I'm almost wondering if we actually change this from being circles to being rectangles, but I feel like every time I've ever seen these, they've always been set up like this. Yes, my brother turns 16 in 16 days. He just mentioned that in the YouTube chat. And I've already sent him gifts, spoiling him rotten. Okay, let's ungroup these so we can distribute them a bit better. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of them, because it's round, we're going to shrink these down a little bit. I'm actually going to get rid of one of them. We don't need all of those. I think that's a little too much. Tap that into the center. And now we're going to go through and we're just going to deselect the ones that, as we increase the length of it, decrease the ones that we don't necessarily need. And what we might have to, actually we might not have to change the stroke weight. Looks like I have that turned off, so it's perfect. Yes, my brother says I have spoiled him. Yes, I have. That's the one thing, is I love to spoil my family members and everything like that. My wife and my mom have been spoiled plenty over the years, and now my brother feels the same way. Okay, so we're going to bring this down here. Might still tweak this a little bit. I think that's too big. So we're going to decrease the size. And maybe we'll actually set it directly. Yeah, we're going to set it directly on here, so I'm going to group these together. Yes, I got him, one of the gifts I got him was a Copic marker set. When I was his age, I wanted Copic markers, and I never got them. And so I thought it would be fun to spoil him with some Copic markers, which are very high quality markers. Am I from countryside? So I'm from a rural area in southeast Georgia, but I actually grew up in a small city where I was around a lot of military and so I don't actually have that much of an accent. But I grew up around like vehicles like this and everything. I don't know if that's what you're getting at or not. Okay. And so there we go. We kind of have our big wheeled truck here. Let's actually go in and actually just change one thing about this truck. Let's actually change the color of it. I'm going to make it, I think I'm going to make it green. Like an electric green. Kind of like Gravedigger a little bit. I like this. I think this truck actually turned out really cool. And I like the use of this green too. Let's actually just change. We'll make it the same color, but we'll darken it. There we go. There we go. That looks good. I really like this. I think this is a nice like use of this green here. Whoops, I actually see one problem. We just need to bring this to the front. And I guess we can put it over the bumper. I mean, I feel like the bumper would probably be... I'm a stickler for this stuff, so I'm going to select all of this. Whoops. Let's see if I can select it easily. Almost got it. There we go. We're going to group the bumper, and we're going to bring it to the front. There we go. A couple more things I just noticed that we just have to fix here. And this green actually looks like it has too much red in it, so we'll go back to this dark green, and we'll just change the opacity for it down to 50%. There you go. That feels good. That's the thing, is sometimes you have to make sure. You can easily tell if we actually undo that. And let me grab a bigger square. So one thing that you'll notice, and now that I have that square here, I can fix this part. One thing you'll notice compared to this other green, notice how it feels a little bit dark. No matter what, it feels darker. But it also feels a bit off. One of the reasons for that is because of the fact that it has a little bit more red in it. That's the reason why. So if you look at these compared to each other, this one is actually, it's hard to tell on Instagram. You can probably tell it easier on YouTube. But this is actually more of a foresty green, almost like an OD green, like a military green, but a little bit more vibrant and saturated. And the reason why it has that feel is because of the fact it has a little bit more red in it. And that's the reason why. When you add more red to green, it tends to make it a little bit more brown. So if we were to, I'm going to click out of that, I still have the color selected. If we create a big version of this, by itself it doesn't look like it has any red in it, but when you put this in here, it actually you can kind of tell just by overlapping it that it has a little bit more red. So if we go in here, we see the R is at 58, and then if we go into this one, it's at 51. So the actually, that's interesting, because I'm actually wrong. Huh, interesting. Let me make sure I'm wrong. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I was wrong. That's interesting. I'm actually wrong there. Huh. Because this does look like it has more red in it, but this one actually does. But what's the difference? What does it have more of? Does it have more blue in it? It has less blue. It just has more green in it. That's interesting. I love when I catch myself and I'm wrong. Actually, it has less green. Something doesn't add up. Oh, okay. Okay, I know what the problem is. I know the reason why I thought it had more red. It actually does have more red. Because what's happened is the green part of it has decreased. So if we look at this, this is 53 on this one, right? And relative to the 51 up top here, if you were to convert those to percentages, the percentage of red to green is much higher there than it is over here, because we're at 181 here. So if we change this to, what was it, 151? I think that's what it was, 151. We would then see that now it's a little bit, it's more closer to this. It's still not, you can just barely make out the other end of the circle here, but that's your little color lesson for today. My brother, the end of the world, you're wrong. I know, my wife would definitely agree with that. Any tips on adding details to flat illustrations? Well, I mean, if we take a look again at what we started with at the beginning of the week, this was the first truck that we created. And this truck was completely, we built this truck directly on this. We took this same shape, the same elements and everything, and then we just removed the grill here and the lights. We built out the grill. Sometimes it really just comes down to trying to add more elements that feel a little bit more real than going too simple. The problem is it's very easy for you to go and do too much when it comes to these illustrations. But yeah, so any story behind your username? It's my name. There's no story behind it except for that's my name. So sorry if you were wondering if there was a bigger story. It's not my legal name. I didn't know my legal name until I was in first grade. So is this collection for some company commission project, or you just felt like drawing trucks? So last week somebody actually suggested that we make vehicles. I don't know if they actually suggested that we create trucks, but I know that they suggested that we created vehicles this week. And so I decided to just go for a truck because I kind of wanted to create one similar to the truck I had, my first vehicle. But this next week, we're actually going to be creating monsters and creatures. And so we're going to be changing gears because we're not going to be creating them here in Adobe Illustrator. We're actually going to be creating them in Adobe Fresco. And we will bring them into Adobe Illustrator when it comes time to color them, but we're going to be doing the sketches, the line work, the fills, the shadows, all in Adobe Fresco. So each week I'm basically taking a new subject matter and we're just creating. And then, next week I'll ask for our next round of ideas from everybody when it comes to that. Okay, so now that I was looking at the Ford Bronco, it made me think, maybe we should just create a version that's a little bit different. And I think this will probably be the last one that we do. Where it's not the camper, but it has that back canopy on the truck. And we might make the tires a little bit bigger. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this flush almost. When I'm looking at like the Ford Bronco, it's not exactly flush, but it's close to it. Whoops. I don't know why I keep doing that. Instead of sending it back, I do that. Let's see. How long did it take you to be this good with Illustrator? I've been using Adobe Illustrator for 16 years. So it's not an overnight type of sensation, unfortunately. I wish I was this good, right away, but unfortunately I wasn't. Adobe Fresco comes with the Adobe Suite. I feel like I might want to draw along. It kind of comes with it. You just download it from the App Store and it's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. If you have a Creative Cloud account, you will be able to use some extra features, I believe. Okay, so we're using offset path to make the window here. Perfect. Just making sure I'm looking off to the side at this Bronco image that I have pulled up. It's kind of like a Bronco slash station wagon at this point. So with color palette, I generally have a color palette that I've created over the last 8 years or so. Here, let me move the camera over so you guys can see it on Instagram. And generally what I'll do, depending on what type of illustrations I'm working on, sometimes I'll just grab certain colors off of this and use that for building out my color palettes or building out the illustrations. And then I alter them. If you go back and watch these live streams on YouTube, you will actually see me go through and use the color picker to change colors and figure out the best color combinations that way. I still start with colors directly from these color profiles, but that's generally how I go about doing it. So for instance here, we'll go ahead and change the color of this. I still don't know if we're going to change the color, have this color the same as that. But let's go with, I kind of want to do like this seafoam green color. And so because I don't want to use this because it makes it too dark, I'm going to jump into the color picker. And I'm going to just try and find a good balance. And yeah, that feels good. We'll change the canopy for now to this this color. I kind of like it. I'm not sure. And then we'll also change these as well. Just need to make it a little bit darker. Okay. We actually need to change the opacity of that. So we're going to put it 35%, which is my favorite one. We'll darken it up a little bit so that we have good contrast. Let's see. Do you tend to draw freehand, then put it into Illustrator, or do you draw pen tool in Illustrator more? So this right here, all of this stuff that you've seen me creating, has all been done with freehand, or basically just from building with shapes. I'm not using any sketch or anything like that. I'm just building it directly as I see it, and that's it. Sometimes it works to my advantage, sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends on, I guess, how good I'm doing at the moment. So, but for the most part, with stuff like these, with these types of illustrations, if I was doing this for a client, yes, I would be using it. I would be using probably some sort of sketch. But when I'm doing this just for the fun of it, I don't need a sketch to work off of. Okay, so we got that in there. We'll grab these here, paste them in front. You gotta remember those are set to 35. We're gonna move that over just a hair because we gotta somewhat get this, but because this is much wider, we want the bigger streaks here. Hello, Arnie Malowski. Thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. My brother just said that I am the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Okay, so now we're going to do a clipping mask here. And for those of you who, if you ever create illustrations like these for clients, you don't, and if they're going to be used on the web, you don't want to use clipping masks because these will blow out. Meaning that when you export them for SVGs, this is what they will look like. They'll look like how this is right here, or better representation, they're going to look like this. And you don't want that. So just remember that you need to watch out if you're exporting these for SVGs. Alright, so we basically have created a Ford Bronco. The only difference is I'm going to increase the size of these wheels just a little bit. Move that, tap that in, or we'll tap that down just a hair. Perfect. We'll need to manipulate that, but let's first fix these here. Okay, delete those. We'll delete those right there. Alright, now let's copy and paste behind. We'll do I think that's about 10 or 20 pixels up. And then we'll just move them over. Then we just have to get rid of these hubcaps here. Just going through and deleting with the direct selection tool. And then we just need to change the light color to dark and the dark color to light. And send this one to the back. There we go. And now we have to do that clipping mask one more time. We'll go ahead, we'll do it for one and then we can probably just pull it over. Or actually no, we'll need to do it for both. So we're going to paste in front. We're going to copy this, paste this on top. And just like so. And we'll need to fix one part of that. There we go. And then we just need to select this entire bumper area. Alright, group those together, bring them to the front. And there we go. We got our bigger tires here. We do need to bring this down because we want it to be flush more with where the axle would be. But there we go. We have our Ford Bronco. Awesome. That looked pretty good. I really like that. You know, we could even make it, you know, look more like O.J. Simpson's Bronco. Just like so. Change that to, maybe that's too soon. But no, I kind of like this green color here. Yeah, alright, so that turned out pretty cool. So if we look at this, we've done technically 4 variations of this truck. We've done the lifted, you know, Bigfoot monster truck basically version. We've done a camper version, the regular cab, and then we did a Ford Bronco style truck. So honestly, like, this all turned out awesome. And for those of you guys who just are tuning in, we also did a Cybertruck yesterday on Behance. So I still say that I'm very pleasantly surprised with how this Cybertruck turned out. I think that it turned out way better than I could have imagined. Alright, so we've got about 6 or so minutes left of this live stream. So I'm going to turn this over and ask you guys if you guys have any more questions that you would like me to answer. You know, whether it's about, you know, what we're doing here with these illustrations, or if you have questions in general about anything involving freelancing or design or whatever it is, please feel free to ask away. Let me pull this over here so you guys can see it. Also, this is the perfect time to remind you guys that moving forward, I'm going to be going live on Mondays and Fridays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., just like today, Pacific time, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So that will be happening from here on out. I don't have any plans to stop as of right now, but we're going to keep on doing these fun exercises where we go through and we just have like one theme for the entire week, like we did this week, which was trucks. My brother says, I'm not biased, but you're the best YouTuber. Thank you so much. Spine 72, another book soon. I'm guessing you're referring to my daily drawing lessons course, Spine 72. I am actually working on a course right now. Right now it's still in the early stages. I've got an outline prepared. I still need to do some tweaks to it. Then I need to go through and actually write the book portion of it, which is then going to influence the videos that I record. I'm also going to put together a deck presentation for it and plan out a couple of webinars as well. So there's going to be a lot more with this course that I'm working on than with the daily drawing lessons course. So I'm hoping that that should come out maybe sometime this summer. Where can I find the other live YouTube, Twitch? It's all on, right now it's split up. So on Mondays and Fridays, I'm going live on YouTube. Right now I'm on YouTube. You can search my name, Rocky Rourke, and I should pop up pretty instantly on there. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going live on Behance, and that's behance.net/Rocky Rourke. You can also find links to all of that on my Instagram profile. There is a link that will lead you to a links page on my website, and you can actually click into either the YouTube or the Behance, and it should direct you directly to those channels. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, it sounds like that answers your question, Spine72. Would the course be available on Skillshare? No, it will not. I'm not creating any Skillshare courses or anything like that. It's actually going to be on my own platform. I'm actually going to be doing it on Teachable, so that each of the sections are going to be split up. There will be white pages and a deck and videos that goes along with each section of the course. So it's going to be a little bit different than the previous course that I did, where it was mostly an ebook with links to YouTube videos that were set to private, private. So hopefully this course will be a lot better, especially now that I have better equipment, better sound, and I'm using a lot better. I'm using Adobe XD for a lot of stuff as well. So that all should be a lot better. The reason why I'm not doing Skillshare or Udemy or anything like that is because I'm not a big fan. I mean, Skillshare, I am a fan of Skillshare. I take a lot of their courses. I just don't want to publish to Skillshare. I actually want it to be my own platform. In fact, I have an affiliate system set up with Skillshare where there's a link in my links where you can get 2 free months, and they kick me back, I think, $10 per person. If you want to do that, great. If you want to get 2 free months, there's your chance. But I don't want to actually go onto their platform, because then they basically own my content, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I would prefer that I'm the owner of my content. I put it up on YouTube, I put it up on Behance, I put it up on my own course site. That's much better for me than to let someone else own it directly. So hopefully that answers your question. I think we have time for maybe a couple more questions, 1 or 2 if anybody has them, and then we're going to start wrapping this up. Actually, Instagram will probably be quitting soon. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, so it should be stopping in a couple minutes. So I think we have time for like 1 or 2 more questions. This live stream is brought to you by Perrier. No, it's not. I'm an addict when it comes to Perrier. I quit soda over 10 years ago, and this has been what I drink for the last 5 or 6 years is Perrier. That's my number one favorite thing to drink besides water. Okay, it looks like Instagram is actually winding down. Less than 2 minutes left of the stream for that. Okay, so let's then go ahead and start wrapping this up. I want to thank everybody who tuned into all of the live streams this week and last week. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the fact that you guys have tuned in for all of this. You've seen the progression of these truck designs, of the Cybertruck and everything. And hopefully you guys learned a whole lot about my overall process, and that it inspires you guys to create stuff for yourself. Arcane, who are your favorite illustrators, books? I'll have to answer that another time, unfortunately, because we're running out of time here. But if you ask me that next week during the live stream, I will answer it, I promise. Always remember to stay passionate, stay positive, and stay creative. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there and create something amazing. In fact, if you go to my Instagram right now, at Rocky Rourke, you can actually find, I did do a challenge where I challenge you guys to create your own truck or vehicle or whatever it is that you want to do. You tag me in it, you use a special hashtag, and then I will choose one person to get a 30-minute one-on-one conversation with me, maybe over live stream, maybe on a podcast episode or something like that, where you guys can ask questions, where you guys can have me review your work, give you tips and tricks, and things like that. I already chose the winner from last week's challenge, so be sure to check that out. Well, it's about to end here on Instagram, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend, stay safe, and create something amazing. All right, guys, I'm going to end it here on Instagram. Thank you so much. I realized last week or yesterday when I ended the stream on Instagram, I let the time run down, and then it did not post it. So that's the reason why I went ahead and ended it there. So that's it for today's live stream. Hopefully the sound is good. I know that there's a couple of people that commented that the sound was actually kind of low, so I increased it on my end. Hopefully it sounds a lot better. Stay safe, guys, and have a great weekend. That's it for me. Bye.